Rikers Island, where survival comes first. The fight for breath. The screams echoed through the cell block. A young inmate had been cornered in the shower, his head forced under the rushing water as fists rained down on him. He fought for breath, his arms flailing, his body slipping on the wet tiles. Guards stood just out of sight, pretending not to notice. In that moment, survival wasn't about justice rules or fairness. It was about one thing only, living through the night. And this was the daily reality of Rikers Island, the place where survival comes first. But how did it get this bad? How did one of America's most notorious jails turn into a battlefield where every inmate is left to fend for themselves? The first step inside. The story begins the moment a bus pulls up to Rikers Island. The doors is open, and the smell of fear mixes with the sharp air of the East River. New inmates shuffle out, shackled in chains, their eyes darting at the razor wire and guard towers above them. Some try to stay calm. They tell themselves it's just jail, not prison. They whisper, "I'll do my time and get out." But those whispers don't last long. The moment the intake door slams shut, reality sinks in. Rikers isn't about time. It's about territory, power, and survival. The first night sets the tone. A teenager fresh from the Bronx gets his blanket ripped from his hands. When he tries to fight back, a group swarms him, kicks, fists, and broken teeth. The guards don't move. They only yell, "Keep it down." By morning, the boy has learned the first rule of Rikers. You don't own anything, not your blanket, not your food, not even your safety. And this was only the beginning, because what comes next will test every inmate in ways they can never imagine. Choosing sides. By the second day, the young inmate is learning fast. He keeps his head down in the cafeteria line, clutching his plastic tray of watery beans and cornbread. He's starving, but he eats slowly, careful not to stare at anyone for too long. At Rikers, eye contact can mean challenge. Challenge can mean a fight. Still, even silence is dangerous. Sitting alone makes him look weak. And weakness is the one thing you can't show here. That's when a group of older inmates approaches his table. Tattoos cover their arms, their eyes sharp like knives. They don't smile. The leader sits across from him and leans in. "Stick with us," he says, "or you won't last a week." It's not really an offer. It's a warning. The boy nods, knowing what it means. Protection comes with a price. He'll have to fight, run errands, maybe worse. But refusing? That's not an option. Later that night, the cell block explodes with chaos. Shouts echo down the hallway, and metal slams against concrete. Two gangs clash in the day room. Tables flipped, fists flying, blood on the floor. Guards rushing with batons, but it's too late. The boy is shoved into the middle of it, caught between sides. His heart pounds. In the riot of Rikers, there's no safe corner. And for the first time, he realizes he has to choose. Right now, the first test. The chaos in the day room dies down, but the fear doesn't. The boy sits in his cell, knees pulled to his chest, listening to the echoes of boots and screams fading through the halls. His hands still shake. He hasn't even been here a week, and already he knows Rikers is not about justice. It's about surviving the next hour. When the steel door finally slides open, the same group that approached in the cafeteria is waiting. Their leader smirks. "You froze up in the fight," he says. "You want to roll with us? You got to prove yourself." The boy's stomach sinks. He knows what's coming. That night, he's given a choice: attack another inmate or be left defenseless on his own. There's no middle ground. He doesn't want to hurt anyone, but the threat of being abandoned is worse. They hand him a padlock stuffed inside a sock. His hands sweat as he holds it. The group points to his target, a quiet inmate sitting alone, someone who looks as scared as he feels. Every second ticks like a drumbeat. Finally, the boy stands. The sock swings in his trembling grip. He takes a step forward, but before he can act, the quiet inmate looks up, his eyes cold, sharp, and full of something terrifying. This man isn't weak. He's dangerous. The boy freezes, realizing too late. He was just thrown into a test against someone far deadlier than he imagined. Blood on the floor. The boy's breath catches in his throat. The sock with the lock feels like it weighs 100 pounds in his hand. He doesn't want to swing it. He doesn't want to fight. But the gang behind him is watching, and the man in front of him, the one he was told to hit, doesn't look afraid at all. The room feels smaller. The sound of distant shouting echoes to the block, but inside the circle of inmates, everything is silent. The man suddenly stands, moving faster than the boy expected. In an instant, the boy is slammed against the wall. The sock falls from his grip. A fist drives into his ribs, and pain explodes through his body. The older inmate isn't weak. He's a predator, and the boy just became his prey. The gang laughs behind him, testing, waiting to see if he'll sink or swim. Something inside the boy snaps. Desperation takes over. He grabs the sock again, swings wildly, and the lock connects. A dull crack echoes through the cell block. The older inmate stumbles, blood dripping from his forehead. The gang roars in approval. For a second, the boy feels relief. He survived. But then the injured man's face twists with rage. He doesn't fall. He charges. In a blur, he tackles the boy to the ground. Fists raining down, blood splattering across the concrete. Guards rush toward the cell, keys jangling, batons ready. But here's the truth about Rikers. Guards don't always break up right away. Sometimes they let the inmates fight it out. And now the boy is pinned, seconds away from being beaten unconscious, or worse. The only question left, will he survive this first real fight, or will Rikers claim him before his time even begins? Baptized in violence, the boy's vision blurs as fists slam into his face. The concrete beneath him is cold, slick with blood. His blood. He gasps, but every breath is cut short by another blow. Somewhere in the haze, he hears the gang laughing, egging it on. His body screams to give up, to just close his eyes and let it end. But in Rikers, giving up means never getting back up. With a surge of panic, he bucks his hips, twisting hard. His hand finds a sock again. Blindly, he swings. Once, twice. The lock cracks against bone, and suddenly the weight on top of him shifts. The older inmate stumbles back, clutching his face, blood streaming between his fingers. The room explodes in noise. Some inmates cheer. Others jeer. The boy staggers to his feet, chest heaving, eyes wide with shock at what he's just done. He didn't just fight back. He drew blood, and in Rikers, that changes everything. The guards finally rush in, batons swinging, pepper spray filling the air in a burning mist. Everyone coughs and chokes as chaos erupts. The boy is slammed to the ground, cuffs biting into his wrists. But as he's dragged out, head throbbing, he catches the eyes of the gang leader. The man nods with approval, a silent sign that the boy has just been baptized into survival. Yet from the shadows, another pair of eyes burn with hate. The inmate he bloodied isn't finished, not by a long shot. And in Rikers, revenge always comes, sometimes when you least expect it. The price of survival. The boy spends a night in solitary confinement, his face swollen, his lips split. The small concrete cell feels like a tomb. 4 walls, 1 steel toilet, and silence that presses on his chest. He replays the fight in his mind over and over. He didn't want to hurt anyone. But now, his hands are stained with someone else's blood. And in Rikers, once you cross that line, there's no going back. When the door finally slides open, he's released back into the block. Whispers follow him down the tier. Some inmates look at him with respect. Others glare with resentment. He's marked now, no longer invisible. The gang leader slaps him on the shoulder and grins. "You did good," he says. "Now you're one of us." They offer him food, a seat at their table, even a blanket. For the first time since stepping into Rikers, the boy feels a shred of safety. But he knows it's not real, it's borrowed. Protection here always has a price. And while he eats, a pair of eyes track him from across the room. The same man he bloodied in the fight. His face stitched and bruised, his stare cold and unblinking. He doesn't need to speak. The promise of revenge is written all over him. That night, when the lights go out and the block falls silent, the boy lies awake on his bunk. The air is thick with tension. He can hear the scrape of footsteps in the dark. Slow, deliberate, getting closer to his cell. Then, clang, a piece of sharpened metal scrapes against the bars, the sound shrill in the night. A whisper follows. "You're dead." The boy's blood runs cold. He realizes survival at Rikers isn't about one fight. It's about surviving every single day, every single night, while knowing someone is always waiting for their chance. And this was just the beginning. You can't sleep here. The boy doesn't sleep. His eyes stay open in the darkness. Every sound amplified. The drip of a leaky pipe, the slam of a distant gate, the shuffle of footsteps on concrete. Every creak feels like death creeping closer. He remembers what older inmates whisper during intake. Don't fall asleep in Rikers unless you trust a man in the bunk next to you. But trust doesn't exist here. The next morning, he forces himself to move as if nothing happened. In the yard, he lifts weights, even though his arms ache. He plays handball with the gang, even though his ribs still hurt from a fight. He laughs at their jokes, even though his mind is spinning with fear. It's all part of survival. Never let anyone see weakness. But as he pretends to fit in, he spots the older inmate, the one he bloodied, standing on the far side of the yard, his face swollen, stitches glinting under the sun. He's surrounded by his own crew, and they're watching the boy with smiles that aren't friendly. The whistle blows. Yard time is over. Inmates shuffle back toward the gates, squeeze shoulder to shoulder. The boy feels a shove. Then another. He's boxed in. Suddenly, a blade flashes in crowd. A hand grabs his jumpsuit. He feels a sharp burn of metal slicing across his side. Gasps ripple through the line as guards rush forward. But the attacker melts into the crowd before anyone can react. The boy stumbles, clutching his side, blood seeping to the orange fabric. And in that moment, he learns the hardest rule of Rikers Island. Survival doesn't stop when the fight ends. It follows you everywhere. Marked for life. The boy staggers into the infirmary, his side bandaged tight by trembling guards. The antiseptic stings worse than the blade did. He lies on a narrow cot, staring at the ceiling, replaying the ambush in his head. He realizes something brutal. At Rikers, getting stabbed doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're a target. Now, everyone knows his name. Everyone knows he's part of the game. There's no way to fade back into the shadows. Days later, he's sent back to his block. Whispers ripple through the cells. Some inmates nod with respect. He's still standing after a stabbing, and that makes him harder than most. The gang greets him like a brother. "You earned your stripes," their leader says, sliding him a tray with extra food. For the first time, the boy eats without fear of it being stolen. But this new respect comes with a darker chain. Once you're marked at Rikers, you're locked into the cycle. Survival doesn't just mean fighting. It means belonging to something, whether you want to or not. That night, the gang leader whispers his next order. "There's a job for you tomorrow. You're in now, you don't get to say no." The boy feels his stomach twist. He doesn't even ask what the job is. At Rikers, jobs usually mean violence, smuggling, ambushing, or worse. As the lights cut out and the block plunges into darkness, he stares at the ceiling. Knowing his life isn't his own anymore. Tomorrow, survival will demand more blood, and this time, it won't just be his. The job. The morning comes too fast. The boy barely slept. His ribs still ache. His bandages itch under the orange jumpsuit, but none of that matters. Today, the gang expect him to move. At breakfast, the leader leans close, his voice a low growl. "See that guy over there? He owes us. Been dodging too long. You're going to make sure he remembers who runs this block." The boy follows his gaze. Across the cafeteria, a skinny inmate eats alone, shoulders hunched, eyes darting nervously. He doesn't look like a threat. He looks like prey. The boy's stomach knots. He knows what this means. Hurt the man or lose the gang's protection. And without protection, he's as good as dead. Later in the yard, the gang closes in around the target. The boy's handed a shank, cold and sharp in his palm. His pulse hammers in his ears. He doesn't want to do this. He's not a killer. But the gang stares at him, waiting, and the skinny inmate is looking right at him now, his eyes wide, realizing what's coming. The boy takes a step forward. His hand shakes as he raises the weapon. Just as the yard erupts with noise, weight slamming, shouts echoing, the boy lunges. The blade scrapes across the inmate's arm. Blood bursts out in a thin line. The man screams, collapsing to the ground. Guards blow whistles. Alarms wail. Chaos erupts. The boy drops the weapon, his hands trembling, heart racing. He's shoved back into the crowd as guards swarm the bleeding man. In that instant, the boy knows. He crossed a line he can never return from. And at Rikers, once you spill blood for survival, you're trapped in the cycle forever. The fallout, the boy sits in his cell, heart still pounding from what happened in the yard. His hands won't stop shaking. No matter how much he scrubs them, he swears he can still feel the blood. Across the block, news spreads fast. Everyone knows he put the blade to another inmate. Some call him crazy. Others call him tough. But either way, his name is out there now. And at Rikers, once your name is out, you don't get to hide. The gang leader slaps him on the back when the block quiets down. "You're in now," he says with a grin. "You showed heart. You showed you're one of us." The boy gets extra food again, a blanket, even a spot on the phone. For the first time, he feels untouchable. The gang's protection is like armor. Nobody messes with him now. But protection comes with enemies. And in Rikers, for every friend you make, you gain twice as many people who want you gone. That night, while the block sleeps, a voice hisses through bars of his cell. Low, cold, promising payback. You cut the wrong man. The boy freezes in his bunk, staring into the shadows. He can't see the speaker, but he doesn't have to. He knows the man he stabbed his friends. And now they're coming for him. At Rikers, survival doesn't just mean fighting once. It means fighting every time someone decides you're next. Hunted, the boy wakes up with sweat soaking through his thin blanket. Every sound in the block feels sharper now. The shuffle of shoes, the slam of metal doors, the whispers that float through the air at night. He knows the voice was an empty threat. At Rikers, promises of revenge aren't just talk. They're schedules waiting to be kept. During the day, he tries to blend into the crowd. He keeps his eyes down, keeps moving, never staying in one place too long. But paranoia sticks to him like a shadow. Every laugh feels like it's about him. Every glance feels like it hides a blade. One afternoon, while playing handball in the yard, it happens. A scuffle breaks out across the court. 2 inmates screaming, fists swinging. Guards rush in, whistles shrieking. In the chaos, the boy feels a shove. Then another. He spins, and suddenly he's face to face with 2 men he doesn't recognize. Their eyes are cold, steady. One mutters, "This is for him." His heart slams in his chest. He realizes this isn't random. It's the payback he was warned about. Before he can move, a sharpened toothbrush flashes in the sunlight. It slices past his neck, close enough that he feels a burn of air split against his skin. The second man lunges, trying to tackle him. The boy scrambles backward, his body slamming into the chain-link fence. Guards are distracted with the other fight. Nobody's watching him. Nobody's coming to save him. And in that instant, he knows. It's not just about fighting back. It's about surviving long enough to see another sunrise inside Rikers. Fight or die. Pinned against the fence, the boy's chest heaves. His hands tremble as the 2 attackers close in, their makeshift blades gleaming under the weak yard lights. He knows the rules now. Guards won't step in until the damage is already done. His mind screams to run, but there's nowhere to go. Around him, inmates pretend not to see, keeping their heads down. Nobody interferes in someone else's war. In Rikers, survival is a personal battle. The first attacker lunges again. The boy ducks, adrenaline surging, and grabs the man's wrist. They struggle. The toothbrush blade inches from his throat. With a burst of desperation, the boy slams the attacker's hand into the fence, forcing the blade to drop. The second man charges, but the boy reacts faster this time. He swings the fallen weapon wildly, catching the man across the shoulder. A shout of pain cuts through the air. For the first time, the boy isn't just defending. He's fighting like someone who refuses to die. The yard erupts in chaos. Inmates scatter, some cheering, others yelling for guards. But before order can be restored, the first attacker tackles the boy to the ground, fists hammering into his face. The second man recovers a blade, stumbling forward with blood dripping down his arm. His eyes burn with rage as he raises it high, ready to bring it down. The boy's vision blurs. He can taste iron in his mouth. His arms flail desperately, but he's pinned, and as the blade descends, he realizes survival at Rikers isn't just about what you do. It's about how far you're willing to go when death is staring you in the face. The edge of death. The boy's back grinds against the concrete as the first attacker pins him down. His chest burns, his breath short and sharp. Above him, the second man raises the blade higher, his shadow stretching across the boy's face. For a split second, everything slows. The shouts, the chaos, the pounding of fists, it all fades. There's only the boy and the steel edge about to pierce his skin. He thinks of home, the streets he grew up on, his mother's voice. He doesn't want it to end here, on the cold ground of Rikers Island. Then instinct takes over. With all the strength he has left, the boy jerks his knee upward, slamming it into the first attacker's ribs. The grip loosens just enough for him to twist free. The blade slashes down, but instead of sinking into his chest, it slices across his arm. Pain sears through him, but he's alive, in a blur of desperation. He grabs the second man's wrist and drives his head forward, smashing his forehead into the man's nose. Blood gushes instantly, the attacker howling in pain. The boy snatches the blade, his own blood dripping onto it. Now he's the one standing over them. Guards are still distracted by the stage fight across the yard. No one is stopping this. Inmates nearby chant, egging it on. Do it! Do it! The boy's chest heaves as he holds the blade high. His attackers crawl back, stunned, wounded, but still dangerous. He knows this is the moment that will define him. If he doesn't finish it, they'll come again. If he does, he crosses a line he can never uncross. And in the silence before his decision, one truth echoes louder than anything else. At Rikers, survival always comes first, even if it means losing your soul. The choice. The boy grips the blade, his hands slick with both his blood and theirs. His chest rises and falls in heavy bursts. Around him, the yard feels frozen. Every inmate watching, waiting to see what he'll do. The two men crawl backward, eyes locked on him. One clutches his broken nose, blood pouring down his face. The other spits curses, promising revenge if he dares let them live. The boy's heart hammers. He doesn't want to kill anyone. He never wanted this life. But he knows the rule carved into the walls of Rikers. If you don't finish the fight will finish you. His arm trembles as he lifts the blade higher. In that moment, he feels a power he's never felt before, control in a place built to strip it away. He could end this. Right here, right now. The crowd chants louder. Some scream for blood. Others whisper, "He's made it. He's one of them now." The boy stares down at his attackers. His body aches, but his mind races with one thought: survive. Just as he steps forward, the yard explodes with noise. Guards finally break from the other fight, sprinting toward him with batons raised and pepper spray hissing. The boy freezes, the blade still in his grip. Whistles shriek, inmates scatter, chaos erupts all around him. And then, BM, a baton slams into his side. He drops the blade, gasping as guards swarm him, forcing him face down into the dirt. The last thing he sees before his face hits the ground is the grinning face of the gang leader watching from the fence. Satisfied. The boy survived the ambush, but now he's trapped in a new nightmare. The wrath of the system itself. Punished by the system, the boy is dragged across the yard, wrists twisted in cuffs, knees scraping against the concrete. Guards don't speak to him. They spit orders, curse under their breath, and yank him harder when he stumbles. Inside, he's thrown into a holding cage, the steel door slamming shut like a gunshot. His ribs scream from a baton strike. His arm throbs from the blade wound, and pepper spray still burns his eyes. Hours pass. No medical care. No water. Just silence and the weight of what's coming next. At Rikers, punishment doesn't always come from other inmates. Sometimes it comes from the people in uniform. Finally, the door screeches open. 2 guards step in, their faces blank, their hands already tightening gloves. One speaks in a cold voice. "You like playing tough guy? Let's see how tough you really are." They don't ask questions. They don't listen. They shove him against the wall, fists driving into his ribs. Each blow forces a gasp from his chest. The second guard grabs his head, slamming it against the steel bars until his vision spins. The boy doesn't fight back. He knows better. Fighting the guards only makes it worse. So he takes it, swallowing his screams, his mind repeating the same word: survive. When it's over, he's tossed into solitary confinement, the box. The door slams, sealing him inside a pitch-black cell no bigger than a bathroom. His ears ring, his body aches, his head pounds. He runs his fingers along the wall and feels something carved deep into the paint. Only the strong make it out. The words echo in his mind as the darkness presses down, and for the first time, he wonders, can he actually survive this place? Or will Rikers Island slowly destroy him from the inside out? Alone in the box, the cell is silent. No voices, no footsteps, just a boy and the 4 gray walls pressing closer each day. There's no clock, no window. Time disappears in the box. He counts cracks in the ceiling to stay sane. He hums songs he barely remembers just to hear another sound. But after a while, even his own voice feels like it doesn't belong to him anymore. Nights are the worst. The darkness is complete, heavy, endless. His thoughts grow louder, memories of the stabbing, the ambush, the blood. Every detail replays until it feels like the walls themselves are whispering, "You won't make it out." But survival doesn't only mean fighting others. It means fighting your own mind. The boy finds strength in small rituals. Push-ups on the hard floor until his arms give out. Scratching days into the wall with a broken fingernail. Reciting his mother's voice in his head like a prayer. Every act is defiance. Every moment he stays sane is a victory. And then, through the vent, he hears it. A faint knock. Then another. Someone in the next cell is reaching out. It's the first sign of life in days. He taps back, clumsy at first, then stronger. For the first time in the box, he doesn't feel completely alone. But just as hope flickers, the door slams open. Guards storm in, yanking him to his feet. No warning. No explanation. One of them mutters, "You've got a problem on the block." His heart sinks. He knows what that means. Someone's waiting for him outside, and this time there's no hiding. Solitary didn't break him, but stepping back onto the tier might. Back to the wolves. The boy stumbles back onto the tier, blinking against the harsh fluorescent lights after days in the dark. The noise hits him first, shouts, laughter, metal clanging. It's like stepping from a tomb into chaos. But silence falls when he appears. Inmates watch him from behind bars, some with smirks, others with cold, measuring eyes. He's not the same kid who walked into solitary. He's thinner, harder, but more marked than ever. He keeps his head down, but his chest tightens. He can feel it. Someone's waiting. The gang leader is there to greet him, arms crossed, grin wide. "You made it out," he says, almost proud. "Didn't think you had it in you." He hands the boy a tray of food, a silent message. Protection still stands, if he stays loyal. For a moment, it feels like safety. The gang even laughs, claps him on the back, calls him one of theirs. But survival here is never free, and loyalty has a cost. That night, as he sits on his bunk, a folded note slides under the cell door. His hands shake as he opens it. Scrawled in messy letters are 3 words. "Tomorrow, you're dead." His stomach twists. He doesn't know who sent it. The man he stabbed? His friends? Or maybe even someone in his own gang. At Rikers, enemies don't always come at you head on. Sometimes they smile, eat with you, laugh with you, right before they cut you down. And the boy realizes tomorrow might be the day he finds out who really wants him gone. To set up, the boy doesn't sleep. He sits upright on his bunk, staring at the crack of light under his cell door. Every creak of the building makes his chest tighten. The note plays over and over in his mind. Tomorrow, you're dead. When the morning comes, he forces himself to move like normal. He eats his tray, nods to the gang, keeps his face calm. But inside, every step feels like walking toward a cliff he can't avoid. In Rikers, fear doesn't slow time, it sharpens it. Every second feels like the last. By midday, he's led into the showers. The steam fills the room, fogging the mirrors, making the space feel like a trap. He's not alone, for others are already inside. They glance at him, then glance at each other. The boys pulse hammers. He knows what this is. The accidents always happen here. No cameras, no guards watching too closely. The door clanks shut behind him. He's surrounded now. One man steps forward, smirking. Heard you think you're tough. Heard you forgot who runs this place. The boy's fists clench. His body screams to run, but there's nowhere to go. Just tiled walls, steam, and eyes waiting for the moment to strike. Suddenly, a bar of soap wrapped in a sock swings through the steam. It smashes into his jaw, the pain sharp and blinding. He stumbles back, crashing into the wet tiles. The others close in. Fists, knees, and kicks come from every direction. His ribs crack. Blood fills his mouth. Pinned against the wall, he sees the glint of metal in the steam, a shank sliding out of someone's waistband. And in that moment, he knows this isn't just a beating. This is the attempt to finish him once and for all. The breaking point. The boy's body slams into the tile floor, water pooling around him as blows rain down. His ears ring, vision swimming in the fog. Every hit feels heavier than the last, and the shouts around him blur into a single roar. Then he sees it again, the shank. The blade glints in the steam as one of the men crouches, inching closer, ready to drive it into him. He realizes with icy clarity, this isn't just about teaching him a lesson. This is the kill. Somewhere deep inside, instinct explodes. With a surge of desperation, the boy kicks out, his heel connecting with a kneecap. The man drops with a scream. The boy lunges, tackling another into the wall. The shank slips from a hand, clattering across the floor. He scrambles, grabs it, and for the first time, the weapon is his. He slashes wildly, not aiming, just surviving. The blade grazes one man's arm, cuts another's shoulder. The attackers reel back, the shower turning red as blood mixes with the streaming water. For a split second, the boy is on his feet, chest heaving, eyes blazing. He's not prey anymore. He's fighting like someone who refuses to die. But the fight isn't over. The largest of the group charges, tackling him against the wall, fists hammering into his face. The shank drops again, sliding across the wet floor. The boy's head smacks the tile. Stars explode in his vision. The giant's hands tighten around his throat, cutting off his air. The boy's lungs burn, his body thrashes, but the grip only tightens. Water sprays down, mixing with blood, filling his mouth as he gasps. And in that drowning moment between life and death, he realizes, if he can't break free right now, Rikers Island will take his last breath. One breath away. The boy's vision darkens as the giant's hands crush his throat. His body jerks, desperate for air, but nothing comes. The sound of rushing water fades into silence. He thinks this is it, that Rikers will claim him here on the cold tile floor, just another forgotten body in a place that eats people alive. But survival has a way of clawing through the darkest corners. With the last of his strength, he drives his knee upward, slamming into the giant's gut. The grip loosens. He twists free, gasping, sucking the wet air like fire in his lungs. His hand finds a fallen shank. Without thinking, he drives it forward. The giant howls, staggering back, blood pouring from his arm. The others freeze, stunned. For the first time, the boy isn't the victim. He's the one who stood back up. Guards storm the showers, batons cracking against flesh, pepper spray choking the air. Inmates scatter, slipping on the slick floor. The boy is dragged out, coughing, eyes burning, body covered in blood. His and theirs. But inside, something has changed. He isn't the scared kid who walked in anymore. He's someone forged by the fight. Someone who learned the cruelest rule of Rikers Island. To breathe, you must fight. To live, you must survive. Where survival comes first. Rikers Island isn't just a jail. It's a world where rules are written in fear, where trust doesn't exist, and where every moment is a test. For the boy, survival meant becoming someone he never wanted to be. From his first fight to his darkest night in solitary, every scar, every cut, every bruise told the same story. On Rikers Island, it's not about justice. It's not about time. It's about survival. Because inside those walls, there's no second chance, no safe corner, no one to save you. There's only one choice: survive or be swallowed whole. And that's why Rikers Island will always be remembered as the place where survival comes first.